Hello everyone, Luke here. Now before I get into the Dr. Stone video, I just want to say a couple of things here. First of all, I want to talk about parts that happen in... this is volume 7, sorry. Here we go. Parts that happen in like the volumes, because what I've noticed from thanks to one of the people that are on the Controlled Chaos Discord with me, Partyjams, which go and subscribe to him. I'll link his channel in the description, and he's also the guy who gave me some feedback last week on my format and what I think I should change up. One of them being that I shouldn't really go into every single little detail, and I'm going to try that this week, see how I feel like doing it, and we'll see how that goes. So big thanks to him. But he pointed out various points that I've bookmarked here. So like the first point I want to talk about is on chapter 4, where it's where you have Taiju going, What's wrong with Tsukasa being strong? It'll just make him more reliable. And Senku rebutting that by going, but what if he turns into an evil, sex-crazed tyrant? Now, who does that remind you of? Yep, Ibara. So yeah, I love that, the fact that they've actually put that in. But also another one as well is Senku when he's thinking to himself after Tsukasa makes his declaration about what his plans are back when he was the antagonist of the series. Senku goes, this guy is seriously bad news. An evil dictator would be 10 billion times better than this, but the Lions would have wiped us out if we hadn't woken Tsukasa, so we really didn't have a choice. So yeah, an evil dictator would be 10 billion times better than this. Now, what has Dr. Sinu declared himself as? Basically an evil tyrant, and I believe there's a couple more here that I've put out here. Yeah, this one where they're actually trying to convince Tsukasa's empire that Lillian Winberg is still alive, and they go, this is Lillian Winberg coming at you from the USA. Everyone in Japan, please listen. The world hasn't ended. The United States is already back up and running. Stand by. We're coming to rescue you. Now, that may have been like them just trying to get Tsukasa's army on their side, but that's pretty much accurate to what's actually happened, considering Sinu and Senku both woke up at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty interesting on that front. And also, last one that I had here that I bookmarked, Yeah. They have the same one. People of Japan, the United States, back up and running. So I'm really impressed that the series actually was able to get these foreshadowings for events that were going to play a part in the other main villains of the series, so like Ibara and Xenu at the moment. So that's what I wanted to say. But for right now, let's just dive right into the review. Alright, so this will be chapter 162, titled Down the Earth-Stained Path, and I want to talk about the colour page first, because this is amazing. It looks like the poster to a big budget Hollywood movie, as it goes, standing up to the terrible science kingdom of Xenu, the Chrome Drill is ready for action. Dr. Stone, featuring Senku Ishigami, Chrome, Kukoku, Tsukasa Shinzu, Yukio Shanjio, Hyoga, Suika, and also Sino and Stanley, which is funny that they include them, considering they don't appear at all in this chapter. But it's pretty awesome colour page, and I love the fact that it has the three main characters of the series. And yes, I say Senku, Chrome, and Kuroko are the three main characters, because let's be honest, Taiju, he's pretty much been relegated to just a side character at this point as well, which I find hilarious, considering a lot of people thought he was going to be the main character. Alright, so the chapter starts off good and proper with a pretty awesome fake out here, where we see Hyoga doing his Oi Otome style Kan Ryu spear technique. You know, the spear technique that he's perfected and mastered to an insane degree at this point. And everyone is freaking out because they think, because Chrome especially is thinking back on the time when he was actually confronted by Hyoga himself, and he's having flashbacks to that point, and he's like, no, stop Hyoga, stop. And then it turns out that Hyoga is actually just using it to actually drill a hole into the ground, like beneath the earth of where they are, and they're like, oh maybe you can use it to actually drill into as well. And Kuraka goes, just like I suspected, your moves are perfect for digging. And Hyoga feels like pretty insulted by this, because he says, you forced me to develop the calm Ryu style. So like he's pretty like, I can't believe you made me use my perfectly ultimate spear technique just to drill a hole into the ground. That just feels so dirty. If you remember back when Gen was actually holding the spear, Hyoga got really pissy about Gen actually holding the spear, and he was like being like, I wouldn't do that if I were you, unless you want to have something bad happen to you, Gen. So I like that it's keeping in with Hyoga's character. He's very protective of that spear. So as Kohaku's like, no, it's not, it's the complete opposite. This is actually perfect for digging, and Chrome's actually saying that he's already gone over to Kasuki to actually get him working on the actual drill itself to actually get it like for the bigger rocks that they'll have to do to get under Sino's fortress. We see Tsukasa, and this is a very funny thing that I spotted here. We see Tsukasa saying, but we're sure to strike bedrock soon. Now I love that because bedrock is the town in the Flintstones, and I could just imagine, would be funny to see someone like Chrome or Chrome, Senku or Ginru just be Fred Flintstone in that. Can you imagine like just doing the Flintstones theme song with nothing but Dr. Stone characters? So I love the fact that Tsukasa actually brought up that reference, because I can just imagine that happening now. Like Ginru's on the Brachiosaurus, and then he's like, yabba dabba doo, Ginru's beat the That just seems so hilarious to me, just seeing Ginru as Fred Flintstone. As we go over to the Perseus in what I assume is the engine room, we see Kasuki at hard work, and Kasuki always been one of my favourite characters. You've just got to love an old man who's just so dedicated to his craft, and then when he builds something that far exceeds expectation, he just gets so excited by it. As he goes, as he calls the drill itself his amazing spiral sword, and yeah, it is pretty amazing. I'll give him that, considering it's the first time he's ever actually done something like this. But if you remember, he was a glass making machine, so it's not impossible that once he gets all the blueprints and everything, he'll be able to figure it out himself. Also, guys, my neighbour's cat's just out there as well, so I apologise if I are looking out of the window at points in this review. I'm sorry about that, but yeah, he's out there looking at me. Anyway, continuing on, we have Mozu, who obviously, because he's one of the stone people, he wouldn't know about all the technology and everything, and he's just trying to catch up on everything himself. So he's like, so is that for implaning the guts of our enemy? Not bad at all. And Matsukisi, that's it. Oh, God, his name is hard to pronounce at times. He's like, he's agreeing with Mosu, which has Ginru freaking out. He's like, your mind's working creepy ways, and yeah, they are creepy. That's the first thing that you have a spiral sword that's obviously used for drilling. They're like, oh, this is for impaling. Yeah, their minds do work in creepy ways. As the reporter girl Mayami says, no, it's just for digging. And then everyone comes to the collective conclusion, like, okay, so they're going to be digging a tunnel underneath Sinu's fortress, and they're like, well, Nikki's like, this might be a massive operation, but if we were to, and we've got to deliver all the goods to Chrome and his group, but to send another group over to us, that would be something the enemy would see right away, and we can't afford that, so we would have to send just like one person. And Ryu's was like, we have one person, the person with the strength of 100, and that person obviously is Taiju. Now, say what you want about Taiju, like I said last time, he's a very loyal guy. He's very loyal to Senku, and he's very loyal to the Kingdom of Science, and he has faith in Senku that if Senku can pull through with this, he can accomplish the mission of getting to the moon and confronting the Y-Man. So as Taiju prepares to take the science lab over water, like it's still in like its creature form, he asks Luna and Yusuvia to actually look after Senku as he continues on, and we see Carlos and Max just basically arguing over what they're going to do about Miss Luna, whether they're like, oh, I'm going to keep an eye on her, no, I'm going to keep an eye, no, you are, and they just start beating the crap out of each other, trying to decide everything. They're like, because they're like, I'm the bodyguard, no, I'm the bodyguard, no, I'm the bodyguard, and as they're doing that, as they're fighting with each other, they don't notice the science lab just chugging along and everything, and the way they stop the fighting is just Taiju just popping out of one of the like lights, searchlights areas, which is like a porthole, basically similar to portholes on the Perseus. He's like, "What's up?" And they're like, "He came to us!" Like the enemy, like they didn't expect the enemy to actually come to them. They were that focused on fighting and figuring out like, "Oh, how we're gonna protect Luna? You're gonna protect her. No, you're gonna protect her. I'm gonna protect her. No, I'm gonna protect her." Like they didn't notice him. He's like, "What's up?" And then like, he came to us. He actually came to us. And he's like, "Hey, the name's Taiju, pleased to make you acquainted," and he's just going on about everything, like saying, "You must be," yeah, and he's figured out what they're at. "Oh, you must be told to keep watch on Luna," and everything, and he's just going all over crazy. And he's like, "Oh, whoops, I must have said too much," but of course, them being American, they can't understand Taiju. Now, this is something that I wanted to bring up as well, because I was looking back over the chapters when Luna first went onto the Perseus to now, and there has been no indication that she can't understand Japanese. Apologise for that cut, guys. I got a little bit excited, but yeah, I've been back over the chapters when Luna first went on the Perseus to now, and like I said, there has been no indication of the fact that she cannot understand them. And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why it's interesting, is because in this chapter, even though Carlos and Max can't understand what Taiju's actually saying, the fact that they can still understand him based on its expressions and everything, and maybe that's how Luna's been communicating at this point in time, but either way, she's still been able to have decent conversations with the crew of the Perseus without being like, what are they actually saying? And there's been no indication on the crew's parts that the fact that they can't understand her. So this has led to me believing that Luna is the ultimate translator. Like, because they'll need a translator. If they're going to go around all the world to gather resources, they'll need, like, an ultimate translator in the same way that they have the ultimate scientist, which is Senku, and they have the ultimate strongman, which is Taiju, and the ultimate fire, which is Tsukasa. They'll need an ultimate translator because there's going to be all different languages going around the world, and they'll probably need someone, like, who can speak all these different languages okay, now that we've got them on their side, now that we've got them on our side, things might run a little bit smoother in convincing people to join our kingdom of science. And I brought this up to Partyjams, and we had a decent conversation about this, going back and forth, like, well, it's said that Senku and Ryusui and Yukio can speak fluent English, and they pointed me to a Reddit post, which I'm going to bring up now, where it says, "I'm jealous that Yukio again are so fluent in English." Again, makes sense because he did actually mention that he lived in America for 10 years. So they asked, "Is Senku fluent too?" And the authors answered saying that Yukio learned English through his job in the Self-Defense Force and Gen travelled to the US to perfect his magic art, which makes sense that Gen would actually do that. And they give a chart of all the others that are like in the English ability of the current major players, with C being the average grade, and we have Yukio, who is SS, so like he's the most fluent in the language. Then we have Senku again as S. We have Tsukasa, Hyoga, Homaru, Nikki, and Yusuvia. So like all those characters are like absolute perfection when it comes on average to really perfection when it comes to English. And then we have Yo and Taiju, I'd said. But one other thing that we don't see here is Ryusui's. We don't see Ryusui's grade when it comes to speaking English. Now, he's had a lot of conversation. He's not really had a lot of conversation, but he's had dialogue with Luna and being able to understand her perfectly, and vice versa, she's been able to understand him. And even though they can speak English like all those characters, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that that they're like, oh, no, strike that. And what I was going to say was, even though they can speak English, it's not entirely possible that Luna can properly understand them. And even if she could, she'd probably it would be like, oh, you're from Japan and you can speak English. Oh, great! This will make things a lot easier to actually communicate with each other. They would have at least brought that up. That the fact, like, okay, so we don't have to keep going around in circles trying to cross the language barrier. The fact that we can both understand each other and both communicate with each other, that's a problem that's solved right away. But even Ryusui, he's not on that chart from what I saw. So from what I saw there, Ryusui probably doesn't understand English all that well, and the fact that he was able to have some conversation with Luna pretty much says that yes, she is speaking in Japanese, because there's no indication in the chapters that there's no, like, in the dialogue bubbles, like, okay, Luna has like these little marks next to her show like, oh, she's speaking in English, or there's no like different format in the text to show like, okay, she's speaking English. Because in other manga, they'll have, like, when characters speak in a different language, they'll like do like different speech marks, or make the words in a different format to indicate like, okay, they're speaking in a different language from the actual Japanese language. But there was none in these chapters. So yeah, my theory is that Luna is the ultimate translator, and maybe that was one of the things that she needed, that her father required her to actually go to medical school, to actually get his help to go into medical school, that she had to learn all these different languages. Now, even though she's not really that smart in terms of the medical profession, she could be smart in other cases. Like, case in point, Chika from Kaguya-sama Love is War. She's not the brightest tool in the shed in terms of book smart, but in terms of language smarts, she excels in that. Like, she can speak five different languages. So yeah, that leads me, and I would love that if Luna was like the ultimate translator. Now, this is just a theory on my part; it's not been confirmed yet, but I would love it if that was actually confirmed and they actually brought her along, and that would be useful for the Kingdom of Science, not just from the petrified people, but from the primitive people, to actually learn another language. And it would lead to some hilarious moments if Kinryu and Kuhaku are getting the hang of like speaking English, but Ginryu's like, I don't understand it, and Yo is like, I don't understand it, and they're just like, we've gone over this 1,000 times now and you're still not getting it. So that would be hilarious. So yeah, even though me and Partyjams don't agree on it, I personally like the theory that Luna to compensate for her lacking in medical skills, actually learned different languages, because you would need that as a doctor if you like become really smart, and you would probably need something like that, like some sort of language, sort of like learning different languages to overcome language barriers, in case you had someone who was like, say, French or Spanish or possibly English as well. Like, you would need something like that. So yeah, I'd like to think she's the ultimate translator, and they need a translator to come on this journey. So anyway, continuing on, Carlos and Max say that they can't understand Japanese, but from the way Taiju is expressing himself, they can understand from his big dumb voice and his weird gestures, and they can understand him from that point. And I love that they've included that, because even though sometimes you can't understand people, just from like doing different gestures, you can actually get a grasp of what they're actually saying. So yeah, and I love the fact that they've actually kept consistent with that. The fact that in America, they're in a foreign country, so obviously there's going to be a language barrier that they're going to have to overcome, and they're going to have to do other ways of actually communicating what they actually want. Taiju goes on to say, why not make it easier for us? Because if they're really scouts, they're probably going to follow him in the car to Sino's fort to find out where he's actually going. So why don't they just make it easier and get in the car with him? And they're like, why? Well, your enemy. And he's like, I don't know, it just makes sense. And it's like, sometimes I wonder if Taiju does have his brain on the right way, but other times it's like, well, they're gonna follow me anyway, and I'm going to the enemy, and that we outnumber them like basically 6-1. So yeah, it probably does make sense to just like get them in the car and go with them. So as Carlos is the one that goes with Taiju, he asks if Luna is safe. And okay, this is something here. So it's like you have like a little mark in Carlos's bubble, which basically indicates that he is speaking English. And Taiju even illustrates that by saying like he doesn't understand English, but the fact that he heard the word Luna, that kind of gives him an idea of what he's actually saying, and he reaffirms that she is being taken care of. And he affirms to Carlos, even though he can't understand him, that she is probably a spy, but she's agreed to look after Senku, so she's alright in Taiju's book. And again, I love that about Taiju's character, even though a lot of people don't really like him. He's a very loyal guy, and it's like, okay, if you're gonna help my friend, and you're gonna heal him, then I guess I can trust you just a little tiny bit. And that's what you need in the world. You need trust, because if you don't have trust, then the world just breaks apart and makes you feeling all depressed and everything. And we get a lot of insight into Carlos's character as well, because it seems like they're on the same wavelength, Taiju and Carlos, in terms of how they think and how they function. Because he's like, Carlos can't understand what Taiju is saying, but you can tell that he is actually a decent guy based on his facial expressions and how well he's actually and how sincere he is in his voice. But of course, one thing that they bring up is that Taiju never got his driver's license, and they're like, oh shit, as we see Carlos just being waved around, and the car just being like flinged around everywhere, just crashing into trees, just running up trees, just going on the curve, and Carlos is like, when did you learn to drive? And Taiju's like, sorry, still haven't gotten the hang of driving. You're worried about me, huh? Well, maybe you could just take the wheel yourself. And of course Carlos is like, fine, just give it to me. And he's like, and Taiju's like, oh thanks man, it's Carlos, right? You can drive like nobody's business, and I appreciate it. And it's like, and then that's when it clicks in Carlos's mind. It's like, wait, why am I helping driving the enemy's car? I love just like subtly funny moments like that, where it's like, oh quick, did this guy who's driving get his driver's license? What the hell are you doing? You're gonna kill both of us. Okay, you take the wheel. Okay, wait, why am I driving the enemy's car? I just love moments like that. Like they just crack me up, and here was no exception. So again, love the fact that we're actually getting character development for Taiju and character development for Carlos, and I love the fact that Inagaki and Bruichi are actually taking time to actually develop new characters while also continuing to expand on the pre-established cast. Also, apologise guys if the focus has actually changed, because I've changed it to like indoors rather than just on auto. So I apologise about that, and that will stay the same for the rest of the video. But anyway, continuing on, we have Kinryu and Ryusui talking to each other, and they're like, do you think the enemy scouts are taking the car? Taiju warned of Yukio just before the final location, and even though he'll drive through the underbrush at speed that they can keep up with him, Yukio's ears will spot them from a distance for sure. And sure enough, Yukio does spot this, and he's like, oh, so you decided to let him ride along. Care to explain, as they see that they've actually tied up Carlos so that he can't actually blurt out anything, which was a very smart move on their part, not gonna lie about that. And Taiju is freaking out by this, because he had no idea that they were going to tie him up. And he's like, he's cool, he drove me over here. And they're like, but the second he gets released, he's going to race over to Senior's Castle, tell them what we're up to, and then our tunnel plan will be ruined. And then that's when Carlos has his tunnel, and this is when we get like the drill actually being brought into place, because Taiju actually brought all the components that they would need necessary in the science lab from Kasuki to Chrome and his group, as we see them building the drill itself and getting the jobs done. And Carlos is just like sweating at this point. He's like, what the hell? These kids, they're younger than Luna, they're high schoolers, and they're doing all of this. There's no way they can do that. And as he continues to observe them, he starts to get sweaty, like, oh my god, maybe we can. As we see Chrome breaking the drum, which Sharika brings up, and he's like, because I need the little wings that make wind. If there's no air conditioning in the tunnel, we'll drop dead from a lack of oxygen during construction. Now, that is important on Chrome's part, because he probably had no idea at the beginning of the series when he first met Senku what any of this actually means, and the fact that he's even actually bringing this up to combat what another character's actually saying, like, why did you break this, and explaining the components about it, shows how far he has actually come as a character and a scientist. As we see the tunnel being constructed more, thanks to Taiju's incredible strength as well, and we see Suika going through with what looks like a pipe to like sort of like measure the distance. We have Kawaku bringing up the fact like, won't they actually need his heroes? Won't this make a noise? And Yukio reassures her that, saying like they're far away and Sinu's castle's already running a full tilt and making a real racket, and so they can exploit that. So even if they make noise, Sinu's castle won't be able to hear them, because of the fact that they're building something themselves, which they should be worried about more. But at this point, they're probably thinking like, okay, we're nearly there, our mission's nearly complete, so like they're focused on the mission rather than focusing on the fact what the enemy is actually doing. And as they continue working, and Chrome's pouring blood, sweat and tears into everything, we see Carlos getting more and more actions, thinking like, no way, this is ridiculous, give up already, you'll never be able to pull it off. As we see like Taiju trying to break the wall with a shovel, and he's like, yeah, the wall is the wall is too hard, and Hyoga says manpower alone isn't enough. And then we see everyone just getting shocked, including Carlos, as the drill is fully constructed, and Carlos is like, no, but wait, they're really, and Chrome's like, we're digging all the way to the goal, our earth stained, step at a time, and that's where the chapter ends. So pretty good chapter all around. I love the character interactions between Carlos and Max and Taiju, and I love like the character development on Carlos and Taiju's part. And yeah, that drill at the end, that just gets me really hyped up. Now, one thing that I will bring up that Partyjams brought up as well is the fact that they said that it would take 2 weeks for the drill to complete. Now, maybe this is actually a test drive for what might actually take a little bit longer, so we'll just have to wait and see on that part. But yeah, pretty good chapter. Love the character interactions, love the comedic moments, and I love the sort of like emotional moments that we got from their character development. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and this will be Lash and Luke signing off. Later, guys.